Imagine your neighbor, a person you see every day, suddenly vanishes without a trace. It was a regular Tuesday morning in the early spring of 2024. The birds were chirping, the sun was shining, and life was seemingly normal. Mrs. Jenkins, a beloved figure in her quaint suburban neighborhood, had just waved her kids off to school as she did every weekday. She then set off for her routine morning jog, never to return. The first hint of her disappearance came later that day, when her children returned home to an empty house. Dinner wasn't prepared, the door was unlocked, and their mother was nowhere to be found. The realization was chilling, sending shivers down the spine of the entire community. Mrs. Jenkins, a mother, a friend, a neighbor, had vanished without a trace. The quiet community was about to be rocked by a crime that would leave them questioning everything they thought they knew. As the sun rose the next morning, the reality of the situation began to sink in. A crime had occurred. In the early hours, the town stirred from its slumber, only to find itself enveloped in an eerie silence, broken intermittently by the distant wail of sirens. The police had arrived, their solemn faces a stark contrast to the usually tranquil town. They set to work, their expertise evident in the swift, methodical manner in which they cordoned off the area, marking the beginning of an investigation that would consume the community. The initial findings were chilling. Indications of a struggle, a trail of unidentified footprints, and disturbingly, a notable absence of any witnesses. The puzzle pieces were there, but they painted a picture that was far from complete. The police, with their practiced eyes and years of experience, delved deeper, hoping to unearth the truth hidden beneath the surface. Meanwhile, the community stood aghast, fear seeping into their hearts. The once familiar streets now seemed threatening, each shadow a potential hiding place for the unknown perpetrator. Doors were locked, curtains drawn, and whispers of the crime permeated every corner of the town. Parents held their children a little tighter, friends looked at each other with suspicion, and trust, once taken for granted, was now a luxury few could afford. The local media didn't help either, amplifying the fear and uncertainty with sensational headlines and speculative theories. Every new finding, every potential lead was dissected and discussed, fueling the growing anxiety. Rumors ran rampant, transforming the peaceful town into a hotbed of speculation and mistrust. As days turned into weeks, the investigation progressed, albeit at a painstakingly slow pace. Leads were followed, suspects interrogated, and evidence analyzed. Yet, for all their efforts, the police found themselves at a standstill, the culprit remaining as elusive as ever. The community watched, their fear giving way to frustration, their patience wearing thin. The truth remained elusive, buried under layers of mystery. The plot thickened as the investigation took a series of unexpected turns. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the investigators found themselves at the mercy of a labyrinthine puzzle that seemed to only deepen with time. Every lead they pursued, every clue they unearthed, seemed to twist and turn, leading them further into the heart of the mystery, but no closer to finding the victim. The first lead was a promising one, a sighting of the victim on the night of the disappearance. Eyewitness accounts placed the victim at a local bar, appearing nervous, constantly glancing over their shoulder. But that lead quickly fizzled out. The bar's surveillance footage was mysteriously missing for that particular night, and the eyewitnesses' accounts were inconsistent at best. Next, a tip from an anonymous caller pointed them in the direction of a remote cabin in the woods, a place the victim was known to frequent. But when they arrived, the cabin was empty, save for a few personal effects. There was no sign of struggle, no evidence of foul play. Another dead end. The investigators, once hopeful, were now filled with frustration. The disappearance had captured the attention of the public, and pressure was mounting. Every day, they sifted through dozens of tips and leads, but each one seemed to evaporate as quickly as it had appeared. The case was proving to be a challenging, convoluted maze with no clear path to the truth. With every passing day, the reality of the situation became increasingly grim. Despite their best efforts, despite their tireless pursuit of justice, they were no closer to finding the victim than they were on that first fateful day. The investigators were left with more questions than answers, their frustration mirrored by the community's growing fear and uncertainty. It was as if the victim had vanished into thin air. Then, just when hope was starting to fade, a breakthrough. In the labyrinth of a seemingly unsolvable case, it often takes just one thread of evidence to start unraveling the mystery. For our story, this thread was a simple gas station receipt. Dated the day of the disappearance, the receipt was found crumpled in the back pocket of a jacket, discarded in a trash can on the outskirts of town. A seeming triviality that would turn out to be a key that unlocked a door to a world of hidden truths. The receipt was for a purchase of gas and a pack of cigarettes. But what stood out was the timestamp. It was just an hour before the victim was last seen. The location of the gas station, a good 20 miles away from the victim's home, didn't align with their usual routine. This was the first indication that the day of the disappearance was anything but ordinary. In the world of true crime, sometimes it's the unexpected witnesses who hold the most valuable information. In this case, it was the gas station attendant. He remembered the victim, not because they were a regular, but because of their nervous demeanor. The victim seemed distracted, frequently glancing at the rearview mirror as if expecting someone. The attendant's statement, combined with the receipt, breathed fresh life into the investigation. It suggested a new line of inquiry. Could the victim have known they were in danger? Were they running from someone? The questions were many, but one thing was certain. The victim did not simply vanish. There was a story, a narrative that was slowly starting to emerge from the shadows. This breakthrough led to a renewed sense of urgency among the investigators. They now had a lead, a direction to pursue. They began to retrace the victim's steps, to delve deeper into their life, their fears, their secrets. The receipt was more than just a piece of paper. It was a beacon, illuminating the path towards the truth. The puzzle pieces were finally starting to fall into place. The community held its breath as the truth slowly began to unravel. As the final stages of the investigation unfolded, a chilling pattern began to emerge. The clues, once disparate and seemingly unrelated, now wove together to form a tapestry of terror. The discarded glove at the crime scene, the muddy footprints leading away from the victim's home, and the eerie phone call recorded on the victim's voicemail. All these fragments of evidence pointed in one direction. The suspect, a shadowy figure previously unnoticed, began to take form. A local resident living quietly among them was now under the piercing gaze of law enforcement. The man, a solitary figure known for his withdrawn demeanor, was seen in a new, sinister light. The police, armed with the damning evidence, closed in. The day of the arrest was rife with tension. The suspect, unsuspecting of the impending storm, was taken into custody without a struggle. The shock rippled through the community as the news broke. A sense of relief washed over the town, but it was tinged with an undercurrent of fear and disbelief. The monster in their midst had been unmasked, but the revelation left a chilling question in its wake. How well did they truly know their neighbors? The final pieces of the puzzle fell into place, revealing a horrifying picture. The suspect, a wolf in sheep's clothing, had used his unsuspecting facade to commit the unspeakable. The community, once a haven of trust and familiarity, was now a theater of nightmares. As the truth came to light, a collective sigh echoed through the town. The mystery that had held them captive was slowly unfurling, revealing the grim reality beneath. The arrest marked the end of the nightmare, but the beginning of a long journey towards healing. Justice was within reach, but the scars of the crime were far from healed. In the aftermath of the crime, the community was forever changed. The trial was a spectacle, drawing the attention of the entire nation. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as testimonies were heard, evidence was presented, and the perpetrator was finally brought to justice. The sentencing was the climax of the turmoil, a moment of catharsis for the community. The judge's gavel fell, echoing through the silent room as the convict was sentenced to a lifetime behind the cold, gray bars. Yet, the sentencing did not bring closure to the community, nor did it erase the fear that had crept into their hearts. The crime had left its mark, a scar that was felt by each member. Parents held their children a little closer, neighbors watched out for each other a bit more, and trust became a luxury. The echoes of the crime still resonate, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the most unexpected places.